The sheriff's cruiser kicked up a cloud of dust as it rolled down the long dirt road toward my front porch. I was sipping my morning coffee, watching the sun rise over the Rockies, when Deputy Morrison stepped out and adjusted his hat against the glare. He had that weary look lawmen get when they know they're walking into something ridiculous, but have to treat it like life or death anyway. "Morning, Luke," he said, his voice as tired as his eyes. "Got a call about you refusing to vacate the property. Supposedly, it's been sold." I didn't move, didn't blink, just took a slow sip of coffee and said, "That's so, Deputy. I'd be real interested to know who sold it. Last I checked, I still own every inch of this place, and I sure as hell haven't signed a thing." That's when I saw her. Karen Belmont stepped out of her pristine white SUV like she was walking onto a movie set. Her perfectly styled blonde hair didn't move an inch in the breeze. She marched over, heels clicking on gravel, HOA president badge gleaming like a tin star. "Officer," she barked with authority, "this man is trespassing on property that has been legally listed for sale. I have the listing right here. $3.2 million. We've got buyers touring this afternoon." Morrison gave her a sideways glance. "Ma'am, do you have proof of ownership transfer?" Karen's smile wavered, just slightly. "Not yet, but the listing's been live for 2 weeks." I set my mug on the railing. "Deputy, this land's been in my family since 1875. My great-great-granddaddy built this house with his own 2 hands. If someone's claiming otherwise, I'd like to see it." Morrison sighed, clearly wishing he could be anywhere else. But that was just the beginning. 3 months ago, Copper Creek was just another quiet Colorado town. My ranch, Garrett Ranch, stretched over 160 acres of prime land, with mountain views that could make a grown man weep. We'd raised cattle here for generations, weathered droughts, floods, recessions, never had a problem with neighbors. Until Karen Belmont moved into the new subdivision next door. Pine Ridge Estates, they called it. 25 cookie-cutter houses and an HOA rulebook thicker than a phone book. Karen had come from California and immediately ran for HOA. President like she was running for Congress. She won by 3 votes and declared war on anything that didn't fit her suburban dream, including me. First, it was my rooster. She claimed he violated the noise ordinance. I told her politely that my rooster had been crowing here long before her vinyl fences went up. She responded with a citation. Failure to control livestock audio emissions. I didn't even know that was a thing. Then it was the smell of manure, the dust from my cattle, the unsightly appearance of my 150-year-old barn. Every time I reminded her this was agricultural land and we weren't under HOA jurisdiction. Every time she stormed off muttering about property values. But none of that compared to the stunt she pulled that morning. After she drove off in a huff, Morrison showed me the listing. My ranch plastered across 3 real estate sites. Photos I hadn't authorized. A description that made it sound like I was desperate to sell. Rare opportunity. Historic ranch ready for luxury development. Owner motivated to sell fast. My stomach turned. Someone had trespassed, taken drone shots and photos of every building, every fence line. That evening, my phone lit up with calls from agents wanting to schedule showings. 17 different groups showed up at my gate that week. One guy from Denver even cut the lock and drove up to the house, claiming I was just playing hardball. That's when I knew. This wasn't some HOA overreach. This was war. I hired Betty Lawson, the sharpest property attorney in 3 counties. She'd handled land disputes for 40 years and had a reputation for tearing people apart in court with a smile. When I showed her the listings and the forged seller's agreement I'd finally gotten my hands on, her eyes narrowed like a hawk's. "Luke," she said, flipping through the papers, "this isn't just annoying. This is criminal. Identity theft, fraud, trespassing, forgery. Let's nail them to the wall." While Betty worked the legal angles, I did some digging of my own. One morning at the coffee shop, Tom Crawford, One of the saner folks from Pine Ridge pulled me aside. "Luke," he whispered, glancing around. "You didn't hear this from me, but Karen's been talking at HOA meetings about expanding the neighborhood onto your land. She showed us architectural drawings, said once you were gone, it would all be transformed, said investors were lined up." "Drawings of my land?" I asked, stunned. Tom nodded, "And she's hurting financially. Her husband lost his job months ago. They're behind on the mortgage. I think she's getting a cut from whoever wants your land." And just like that, a plan started to form. I called my cousin Eddie, who ran an investment firm in Denver. "Eddie, I need you to set up a shell company, something boring and corporate sounding." "What are you up to, Luke?" he asked warily. "It's just a little legal property investment." Within a week, Mountain View Holdings LLC was born. And when Karen's house hit pre-foreclosure, we pounced. The bank was eager to avoid a mess. Our cash offer sailed through. The best part? Karen had no idea who the buyer was until moving day. I stationed myself on the porch with a fresh cup of coffee and watched the moving truck pull into her driveway at 7 a.m. Sharp Karen came running out in her bathrobe, hair in curlers, yelling at the crew. "What are you doing? This is my house." Roberto, the crew chief, calmly showed her the order. "Ma'am, we were hired by the new owner to clear the property by noon." "New owner? That's impossible." I strolled over. "Morning, Karen. Beautiful day for a move, isn't it?" She froze. "Luke Gara, what did you do?" I pulled the deed from my jacket pocket. "Mountain View Holdings, LLC. That's me. Bought your place fair and square." From the bank, her face turned ghost white. "You can't do this. I'll sue you." "Speaking of lawsuits," I said, handing her an envelope. "You're being sued for fraud, identity theft, trespassing, defamation, and more to come." Turns out the fake listings were posted from your home computer. Her hands trembled as she took the envelope. I don't know anything about." "Sure you don't. Also, you'll need to move your car. I've got construction equipment arriving this afternoon. And over the next 3 days, I had more fun than I've had in years." Every morning at 7 o'clock, more equipment arrived. Backhoes, mixers, a bulldozer, all parked perfectly to block her driveway. When she came out screaming, I reminded her the driveway extended 2 feet onto my land. "You've been trespassing for years," I said. "But I'm reasonable. I'll grant you an easement, $10,000 a month." $10,000. That's extortion. No, Karen, that's market rate. Got it professionally assessed. Word spread fast. The HOA board called an emergency meeting. Karen tried rallying support, but once the board saw the evidence, fraudulent listings, forged documents, investor emails, they distanced themselves like she had the plague. She was removed as HOA president in a unanimous vote. Even hired a fancy lawyer from Denver who strutted onto my ranch in shiny shoes. Betty was waiting for him. "Your client is prepared to go to court," he declared. "This harassment must end." "Wonderful," Betty said with a smile. "We've added conspiracy charges. Would you like to see the emails? Your client really should have used better passwords. Password 1234 isn't very secure." The guy was gone in 10 minutes. 6 weeks later, court day came. Karen, now visibly shaken, stood next to a tired-looking public defender. Betty tore through the evidence like a buzzsaw. Forged documents, drone photos, security footage, emails showing she was promised a $500,000 developer kickback. Judge Harrison didn't hesitate. Double quotes Mrs. Belmont. "What you've done is not just a neighbor dispute, it's criminal. You're found guilty on all counts. Sentenced to 3 years in prison, suspended to 18 months, 5 years probation, and you'll pay $250,000 in restitution to Mr. Garrett." Karen gasped. "I don't have that kind of money. Then I suggest you sell some assets," the judge replied coldly. As the bailiff let her out, her badge fell to the floor with a soft clatter, and her once perfect hair was a frazzled mess. I sipped my coffee from the back of the courtroom, thinking how all this started with one complaint about a rooster.